So as we get started today, this video is divided into chapters. If you want to skip at any point, just look at the sliding bar underneath the plating window and you can see the chapters to skip ahead. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to do the Crochet Sunny Spread Throw. This is a great little design. Once you get this design into your head, you can put the pattern away and enjoy the process. So this is really a great stitching journey. You're going to need to make 49 of the squares that you see. So if you're really looking at it carefully, you can see that there is a spoke that's coming out of it. So you could do solid like this. There's another similar pattern on yarnspirations.com that has monkey faces on every few squares. I'm not teaching the monkey faces today, but this square is very similar to that. Also, it's much smaller because it's for a baby and it has a slightly different border than what we have. So we're gonna stay on track today. There are two different video thumbnails. There's gonna be this and then there's gonna be the sample that I'm about to show you, which is the Super Saver Ombre, which I really think that would be quite cool. So as we before we get there though, we are going to just work our way through the pattern. There is a stitching diagram right on page number 3. Nice and easy to follow, and again, once you get this into your head, you can put this away and enjoy the process. Let me show you the Super Saver version because it might actually get you more excited than what this already is. So welcome to the mess on my desk as I zoom you out. So I was working on a sample and I was using the Red Heart Super Saver Ombre. So this is called Baja Blue or Baja Blue, and what we have here is that as this is transitioning in the coloring, you'll notice that each square kind of has its own little flavor. So what this means is that you could have literally with the same ball of yarn like several different tinges of blue. And so what I would do if I were you and you were me is that if I was to do all 49 squares using the same colorways, I would leave them all to the side and then at the end just lay them on the table and just kind of piece them together where you think they should go the best. I literally just randomized it here. So you can see that the spokes are in there. There is texture going on in this particular pattern, and what we have to watch for is a few things. Let me talk about that. If you're gonna do something like this version, what you want to do at the very end of the square, you want to leave a very long tail. So we're gonna use the same tail to sew it to its neighbor. So if you follow this color, do you see how it's joining over and then back across? So it's the same tail that I picked up from here, because if you start grabbing from the ball and the ball is not at the same tinge, you can see that you'll see the join very easily. So you want to leave in the color of the tail as long as you can, and then just strategize and put this thing together. So that's something that you have to consider for yourself. When you're going to join this, we're not going to go all the way to the very corner. When it comes to the middle sections here, we're gonna just stay one stitch shy of it, and we're gonna be doing something a little bit unique in this idea, is that I'm gonna show you a little cheating technique that I would do if you weren't watching me. So this is the whole point of today's tutorial. So this pattern is only just a few rounds. It's easy to remember and I think we should get on with it. So it's a 5.5 millimeter size eye crochet hook in order to play, and what we're going to do then is use the Red Heart Super Saver Ombre for this particular example, but the real example that you saw was Red Heart Super Saver. So you can decide what's gonna work for you. Okay, so let's get ready. So right where the ball is, this is the color that's gonna start with, and then it will transition on its own. So what we're going to do is start off with a slip knot and then chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then slip stitch it to the beginning chain to form the center ring and pull through and through. And leave this straggler on the loose end so that it's wrapped around so that it will get stuck underneath the stitches in round number 1. Let's move on to round number 1 now. In round number 1 we're going to chain 3, which will count as a double crochet. So if you weren't watching me, I would it says in the pattern that chain 3 and then 11 double crochets in the circle. So what I do if you weren't watching me, I just say, okay, I've chained 3, this is considered 1, and so then the next one is considered in the double crochet into the ring is 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. So what I want you to do, so just see 1, 2, 3, 4, just continue along till you can count 12 of those and meet me back here as we progress. Once you confirm to have your 12 posts all the way around, so there's a chain 3 and 11 double crochets, which gives you the number 12, you're going to slip stitch then to the top of the first chain 3 and pull it tight, and let's begin round number 2. And the expansion is really fun. Let's begin number 2. So as we progress to number 2, let's go. We're going to chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet, and we're going to do an expansion, and the expansion is going to do a front post double crochet. So using the same chain 3 that you're just currently in, you're going to double crochet front post So just wrap the hook and go into the side of the post, pop it back out, and then pull through 2 and 2. So the one is sitting on the row and the other one is sitting on the post. So the next stitch, you start the first one, it's going to be on the row or around. So double crochet in that one, and then the next one is going to be around the same post that is directly below. So you're essentially putting in 2 stitches to each stitch. It's just that they're in 2 different spots. So we go to the stitch in the next one and around the post and the same one. So I want you to do that all the way around, and you should be able to count 12 of these standoff front post double crochets when you get all the way around. So please do that. So just 1 in the regular and then 1 in the front post. And I'll see you back here in a moment. So I've come all the way around. The last stitch is a front post double crochet, and you're just going to join to the first double crochet, and that's what it will look like. Let's move on to round number 3. So we're gonna continue this idea of building out on the same post, but we're just gonna have to shift a little bit. Shift. So 1, 2, 3. So there's your first double crochet. So the next one here is going to be on the front post. So it's just in the regular stitch of that same front post, and the expansion then is gonna go around that same post. So front post double crochet. Okay, so let's do again. So the next one is 1 double crochet by itself, and then you move on, which happens to be the front post double crochet from before. So the first one goes in the regular spot, and the second stitch goes in the front post, and you're gonna do that all the way around. So regular stitch on its own, and then the next one is an expansion, so put in the stitch first and then a front post double. Please do this all the way around for round number 3. Coming all the way to end of round number 3, you're just going to attach to the first chain 3. And now let's move on to round number 4. So you're gonna chain 3, and then the next one will be a double crochet by itself, and the next one is the front post double. So you're gonna put the first one in the regular spot, and then the next one goes around the same post, and that's your expansion. Okay, let's try another one. So the first 2 are gonna be by itself. You're primarily looking for the front post double to know when you have to expand. So this is a front post double, so you put in the first one and then a front post double around the same stitch, and you'll do that all the way around for round number 4. I'll see you back here in a moment. So coming all the way around, it's gonna be the last one is a front post double, and then you're just going to join it to the beginning. Round number 5 is the final for the expansion, so just chain up 3, and now the next 2 in a row are by themselves, so double crochet in the next 2, and again I'm looking for where that front post double crochet is standing. So that tells me that that one has to go for a double crochet in the regular stitch, and then a front post double crochet around the same. That keeps that spoke moving out. So the next 2, sorry, the next 3, 1, 2, and 3 are by itself. You see the spoke, so the first one goes in, and then a front post double around the same. Please do this all the way around round number 5. So coming out round number 5, and you're just going to join, and we're now going to transition to a square. So I'm gonna take you back to the diagram now, and I'll show you how to look at that and how to easily remember. So let's take a look at the diagram. Right where we're sitting, we're gonna chain 4, which will count as a treble crochet. The next one will be a step down, so it'll be double crochet. The next one is stepping down even further for a half, and then you have a total of 9 single crochets in a row. I write these notes when I'm by myself so that I always remember. So there will be 9 singles, and then we're gonna get bigger again. So you're gonna go half, double, and a treble. And remember that when you do a corner in this one, it's gonna be chaining 3, and the next treble will come in the very next stitch, so they don't share the same stitch. So then again it's going to be a treble, get smaller, a double, get smaller as a half, and then you have 9 singles, and then bigger, half, double, and treble, and then chain 3 for the corners. So it's a very easy way to go, and then the final round is just a matter of just single crocheting around and making sure that you put 5 single crochets into the corner. Let's do round number 6. So in round number 6 we're going to start, you'll chain 4, that's your first treble, and moving to the very next one you're going to get smaller, so it'll be a double, and then smaller again, it'll be half. And now there will be 9 single crochets in a row. So let's count those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you're gonna get bigger again. So you'll start with the half, a double, and then a treble. And that's one side. There's a total of 15 stitches in a row, just in case you lose count. You want to count those. There's 15. Now you'll chain 3 to turn and start in the very next stitch after where you are, and you'll start with a treble and they get smaller again. So then you'll do a double and then a half and then 9 singles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you'll get bigger. So it'll be half, a double, and then a treble. And then turn, chain 3 to turn, and continue that same idea going around. I'll see you at the end of round number 6. So I'm coming all the way around. My last one is a treble. And then I got a chain 3 to close that corner. So 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch to the top of the first treble to finish. And then we're gonna do our final round. And you can see that, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it is transitioning in the colorway, so it's getting darker as it went out. And let's begin round number 7, the final. The very final round, we're going to start up chain 1 and then just start in the first stitch, and you don't have to bother to count, only in the corners. So you'll just put 1 single crochet in each of the stitches all the way to the corners, and in the corners you'll put in 5 single crochets. So just remember that the third one is considered the middle, because you'll need that as a reference point in the future. So just kind of keep an eye on that, but you don't have to take an exam or anything, but that's what I would do. So I'm just single crocheting across. I'm not counting because I'm yapping at you. I trust my stitch work at this point. Hopefully you are too. So in the corners just put in 5. 1, 2, 3, that's the middle, and then 4 and 5. If you're unsure of the middle, if you're new to crochet, you may want to mark it with a stitch marker just for future reference, but that's up to you. And then continue to move around, single crocheting in each stitch, and then 5s in the corners, and I'll be back in just a moment. So coming around the end, I've just done number 2 and 3, 4, and 5, and I want to show you something that I did differently. Technically you're supposed to slip stitch to the first one, but I always find it leaves a clump of extra. So what I want to do is that I want to leave enough yarn on here so that I can at least sew one side and 2 sides. So just leave enough on there, and you're going to pull that through. So you notice that I did not join. So I'm going to show you what I did. Again, this kind of stuff is not in a pattern. People say, well, you know, should you be going outside the lines? Absolutely, it's creativity. So to get it to finish off really nicely, what I want to do is that the strand that's coming out of this, I want to go across the next strand, and I'm doing an invisible join. So I want to come in there, and right where the strand is coming out of here, I want to go straight in. And what I want to do then is just kind of pull on it so it comes a little tighter like this. So it looks like, see, looks like it belongs. And then what I want to do at this point is that I want to get to the middle. So what I'm going to do is just kind of weave in underneath the stitch and then out through the middle. So sometimes we'll be using the middles, and other times we'll be using the one just off the middle. And so then what I would do is just leave it at that, leave it off to the side, and when you're ready to sew it to the project, which I would wait until all your squares are done, then that's what I would do. So I'm going to show you some tips now moving forward as we start the assembly. So do all 49 squares or anything else similar. I'm going to show you cheating techniques for that as well. So we're going to begin with the assembly, and I'm going to show you this technique here. It's called a whip stitch, and we're going to go around both loops of both of the squares when we go to do it. The ones on the outside have this red dot, and what they're telling you to do is that when they join together, so let's take a look at this example. When we join together, on the outside only, we do not want to use the middle one. So the middle one is going to be used then for the border, and the next middle one is going to be used for the border. So the join is going to start on the fourth one here if you were looking at it from this perspective going around. So we're gonna leave the middle ones. Where it's in the middle though, you are going to join it to the middle pieces. So my technique for when I do that is that when I go to join, I join diagonally. So as I'm joining around, I go diagonally to make sure that everything is there so it doesn't have a space. So it's only on the outside edging that you are skipping over the one in the middle, and you're gonna be using that then as a stitch for when you do that. So that's something that we're gonna keep in mind. So let me just lay this down and I'm gonna show you how to whip stitch this square into position. And the way that I did it is that if you recall, like I'm currently on the middle one, and so when I'm on the middle one here, if it's on the outside edge, let me just back you out a little bit here, you're too close. So I'm on the middle one here, so depending on where the square goes, I'm just gonna pull out because I'm in the middle, and I'm gonna be in the fourth one here. And so because it's the outside edge, I wanna make sure the middle one is clear and free. So if you were joining in the center of these and it's not the outside edge, then you do wanna stick and stay with the center one as your starting point. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if I'm rambling or not. I probably am. Somebody will leave me a comment to tell me that I am. So what you want to do, because it's an outside edge of your blanket and only on the outside edge, you want to leave the one that's on the corner clear. So you just want to scoot down and then back over. So just go right back into the same stitch to really kind of pull it together. And when you do it, you want to do it so it's nice and snug so you can actually physically see the stitch work a bit. So because this is the same color, the square that I'm working on is matching that, and because it's butting up against the other one, it's gonna look really good. So just moving to the next one that's available and the next one here, and continue to move. So move to the next and the next. This is almost an invisible join. If you wanted to use the back loops only, you'll have a true invisible join, but this works too. So I'm gonna just go with what the designer suggested. And then once in a while maybe just give it a little bit of a tug and then it will pull it in, and you're gonna do that. So what I'll do is I'll meet you on the corner just to show you how I'm gonna do that, and then we'll continue along in a moment. So I'm just getting closer to the corner and just kind of matching stuff. If one is just growing a little bit too fast, then you can actually skip a stitch if you have to, in order to kind of like pull it so that it will line up together properly. It's up to you. So now that I'm gonna go across, I'm gonna go diagonal and grab this one so it'll pull it in diagonally, and then come to this one, and then I'm gonna come to this one here and come back into the same one. So it's not only attached diagonally, but it's attached here as well. And then however way you would like to do it, it's just coming across and continue to whip stitch. So even though it's a lighter blue on the one side, this being dragged over is gonna be so minimal that you would barely see it. So it's a great little stitch for that. So it beats doing single crochets or a slip stitch join where the color may be completely wrong. And just give it a tug and see how it buries in, and continue that, and I'll see you at the end of this side here. So try to at least sew two sides. If you can get a third side, if you have enough yarn to do it, then perfect, and just kind of strategize how you're gonna put it together so the less strands to use for sewing, and the more squares that you can put in one at one time, the faster it'll be for you. I'll see you at the end of this line in a second. So if you were jumping to another square, you would go right into the middle one and pull it together and carry on. In my case, I'm hitting an outside edge of this for myself, so this is as big as I'm gonna go, but if I was making it bigger, then I continue to add more squares. So if you're not adding squares, then you will leave the middle one clear, and so you'll leave it clear on both sides and just come across and just put it through so it kind of ties it into a knot, and then coming back on the opposite side, drag it through the same color square. So don't touch, in my case I don't want to touch the square that's this color. So I'm kind of come through. So once, and don't change the shape of it by pulling too tight, and go through twice, and finally a third time is a charm. and so that'll be pretty invisible. And so you want to put all your squares together, and then we're gonna start the border in just a moment. So we're gonna be covering the border, and in the bordering the chain 3 counts as a double crochet here and throughout, and so we're gonna join all the rounds with the slip stitch to the top of the first stitch. So we're gonna have to get ourselves started, and we're essentially going to start with 1 single crochet evenly spaced. So as we're single crocheting across, we're using each stitch, and then we're gonna use the middle and the middle and kind of just pull those together as we go and do it. On the corners of this first one, we're going to do 3 single crochets, so look for the middle one, which is the third one, in order to do that. So it gives you a stitch count of 145 single crochets across, and in order to do this particular kind of concept, but if you are changing the size, just continue to just like changing the number of squares, just make sure that you evenly space as best you can, because you can always improvise if you have to. Let's move on to the first round. So in my sample I'm going to just use a regular color, solid color for the border. I'll let the interior of the colors scream for itself, and then use a light gray. So I'm gonna start off in the corner, so just the middle one, it's the third one in, and I'm just going to attach, chain 1, and put 3 single crochets in there because it's a corner. So 1, 2, and 3. So just kind of pulling on things. So just start and just continue just to stay on the edging stitches only, and just single crochet. So I'll show you the join in just a second. Okay, so I'm coming all the way across, so I'm using every stitch that I can see, including the corner stitch of the one, and then I'm coming into the corner stitch of the next. So just kind of keep it nice and tight there so it'll pull together, and then just keep on moseying on along with just single crochets. And don't forget that the corner stitch, when you get all the way to the other side, is going to be 3 single crochets, and I need you to go all the way around doing the same thing. I'll see you back here in a moment. This is round number 1. When I came back around, I'm in the last stitch. I'm just going to slip stitch to the first one, which is part of that grouping of 3 that we started with, and then I need you to slip stitch to the middle one, which is the middle stitch of the corner. And now we're gonna move on to round number 2. Now that we've established all of our connection spots, everything is pretty easy from this point, well, at least for this round. So we're going to start, we're in the center, so we're gonna chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet, and then in the same stitch you'll put 4 more. So in all the rest of the corners it'll always be 5 double crochets into the corner stitch, and that allows it to turn nicely. And so starting in the very next stitch out, 1 double crochet. So you're gonna just double crochet in each stitch until the next corner, and then 5 into the corner, and keep on moving around. This is round number 2. So I'm coming around on number 2, and remember that we started off in the corner, so I just want to make sure yep, we're good. So what I want to do is just join, and I want to start off in the center. So I am going to slip stitch over to the center one, which is 2 away, and then we're gonna begin number 3, which is going to start laying out the front post double crochets in the next round. Let's do that. Let's talk about that in a second. So the next one here, we're going to be putting in front post double crochets. If you think it's landing in the wrong spot, by all means you can change it, but just make sure that you're consistent about it. So this is what it's telling you to do. We're gonna start off in the corner, and so you'll chain 3 and put 4 more double crochets into the center there. So that gives you a total of 5. So 5s are in the corners once again. So it's telling you 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. This is part of the repeat. So 1 double crochet in the next 2. The next one here is going to be a front post double crochet down into the one below, and then the next 2 are front post double crochets. So if this was me and you weren't watching me, what I would say to myself to keep this more simple is that we saw that this was a front post double crochet, so I would say there's 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 double crochets, and then the next one is a front post double crochet. And just keep an eye on that, because when you get close to the corner then it will matter, right? So then just once you have that last front post double crochet, just do the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the designer has not written it wrong. They've written it in a way so that it makes sense, so that there's less writing involved. It's so that it's simpler to follow. So then just once you have your 4, front post double crochet down. And just kind of look at it from this perspective. You can blow the photograph up from what you can see on your inspirations and get a kind of an idea on where things are going just generally. But if you follow the blown up picture of it, sorry, the picture, you may see that the stitches don't always land in the same position, right? And that's based on just knowledge, right? So you can see that you have one close to the edge, and you got 1, 2, 3 that are in the centers, and then you're gonna have one that follows close to the in between where the join is. It's pretty close to it. It's not exact. Okay, so there's your 4, and then front post double down. So it's pretty close to the corner. Do you see that? So then you'll continue along, and so you'll put in your 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, if you want to look at it and compare to where it landed before, or just kind of like eye it up and space it, that's up to you on how you would like to do that for consistency. Then front post double down. I'll see you at the first corner, and let's see where we end up and see how we can improvise just in case it is not lining up, and I'll be back in a moment. So I'm coming up pretty close to the corner and just following the stitch work as I know it, and I need to make some choices. Do I want to come down and do another front post double crochet before I actually really get into the corner, even though I may not have enough stitches? You have to decide what you think is gonna work best for you. So in this case I'm only gonna put 3. I'm totally improvising at this point, so if you're comparing to the pattern, it'll be out, I'm out to lunch. So then continuing along, and then in the corner, which is the next one, is gonna be 5 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you looked at it from this perspective, there was only 3 in between. I just don't think that's a deal breaker, at least not to me. So then when I start the next side, I'm going to start off like I'm supposed to. So I'll put my first 2 double crochets in, and then I'll go down and do the next one. So front post double, and then I put my 4s and then down for a front post double, and it looks pretty close, and it's not gonna be exactly perfect, but it's perfect for me, and that's what you can do for round number 3, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So I'm just coming all the way around to number 3, and the improvisation that I did with the 3 on the end, I did that on all 4 sides. It just happened to work out. So when it's the intentional all 4 sides like that, then that means that there's really no error, right? Because it's just a matter of improvisation, but it seems to work. So I want to get myself to the center point of the next one here, and we're gonna move on to round number 4. Now you don't really need to count really heavily on this round, because all we're gonna do is right where you see the front post double crochets, you're going to match that with the front post double crochet to keep it going out like we did way back here in the square. So right where we are, we're gonna chain 3, and you'll double crochet 4 more times into the corner, and that allows it to turn nicely. So it gives you the stitch counts if you're that interested in it, but I just don't think that you need to do that. I just think that you can just look at it and say, is it a front post double? No, we don't see it until here. So I just keep doubling along until I get there. So here it is. So then just make that as a front post double, and then that'll keep that ridge moving up, and then just continue along in the regular stitch until you see the next one that is jumping up. I know this color is hard to see on camera. I do like this color though. I like the color grays, and just jumping in front. You'll see it probably better on your own lap. And I'm just gonna maintain what I have. So when I get to the corner, 5 double crochets, and then keep on moving around and match exactly what you see. This is round 4. So I'm coming up onto the final of the 4th round. So just maintaining what I already know. Perfect. Actually I really like the border is actually sitting down really beautifully on this. Not that I should be surprised, but sometimes I'm surprised, and this is one of those times. So once I have slip stitched, I'm going to slip stitch to the center of that next corner, which is 2 over, and then chain up 1 and put in 3 single crochets into the corner stitch. So you'll do 3 single crochets into the corner stitch, and then everything in between is just 1 single crochet in each. So please do that all the way around. This is the final round, number 5. So I'm coming around on the 5th round. I've already gone into the last one. I'm just going to slip stitch to the very beginning, and I'm just going to throw this through a tapestry needle to finish. Actually, you know, I'm really surprised how nice this border looks. I saw it in the picture, but you know, actually doing it and seeing it in person is a completely different monster. So once I have this in, turn it to the back side. Go back and forth. So wherever you are today, you've spent the afternoon actually with me, even though you don't realize it, here on a beautiful spring afternoon 2021, and I'm just going back and forth, and what a lovely way to spend my afternoon. It's a little bit raining today, so it's wonderful, and it actually lays down beautifully, and this here is the Crochet Sunny Spread Throw. On behalf of Your Inspirations, have a great one. We hope to see you again real soon. Bye bye.